The courtroom echoed with a suffocating silence, my heart racing as I faced the judge, the defendant's table just a mere several feet away. I shifted in my seat, the coldness of the metal chair seeping through my skirt. Outside, the rain pattered against the windows like tiny fists begging to break free. My eyes darted to him, David, my husband. His eyes were filled with the kind of confidence that grated against my fragile state. The silence felt like a well-placed knife, slicing through the tension in the room. I choked out, suppressing the sob rising from my throat, glancing sideways at my attorney. She offered a tight smile, her pencil scratching against a legal pad as she noted my every word. My spirit felt tethered to an anchor of despair, every second fleeting yet frozen in eternity. It was unfair, like standing on a cliff, the wind howling as I awaited the plunge. Then the door creaked open, and in walked Sarah, my best friend. She swept in, oblivious to the gravity of the situation, her hair perfectly styled, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor, each sound making my insides twist. Anxiety twisted my gut as I saw her approach David. The familiar fragrance of her floral perfume washed over me, evoking memories I wished I could erase. "David," she spoke softly, too sweetly as she reached out to adjust the cuff of his shirt, her gesture intimate. "I can't believe we pulled it off. Everyone's going to love the surprise." Horror washed over me like ice water. My heart sank deeper than I thought possible. A baby shower? For us? Did they actually think they could hide this? My hands trembled involuntarily, gripping the armrests as I tried to steady my breath. This was supposed to be a joyful occasion, a celebration of new life, but now it felt tainted, like tainted love. "Yeah, I know," David responded, a sly smile creeping onto his face as he leaned closer to her, and I could only make out their muffled words as my heart thundered in my ears. "About that, I don't think anyone will suspect a thing." I was back in the past, a faint memory creeping into my mind like liquid clarity. The summer evening when David and I first got together felt so distant now. It was a warm night, the fragrant smell of jasmine wafting in the air as fireflies danced around us. I smiled at him, lost in that moment, believing in the love story we were crafting together. "Let's do this, babe," he said, gripping my hand tightly, his eyes twinkling with ambition. He had plans. Big plans for both of us. At least that's what I believed. Slowly, things began to shift. Our social calendar filled with promises of dinner parties, vacations, and our impending life as parents. But as his ambitions blossomed, so did his need to control. "Leave your friends behind. They're no good for you," he'd say, just as casually as if discussing what to eat for dinner. I'd feel that flicker of irritation flare up, but I brushed it aside. "They're just distractions from your true potential," he continued, eyes locked onto mine, a mixture of sweetness and menace. It became more common. Isolation became my home. I watched as Sarah and the others faded to the edges of my life, their messages going unanswered as I slowly picked up the pieces of our relationship. Nights turned into silent debates with myself, the fog of doubt suffocating, each accusation layered down like bricks in a wall. "Why isn't anyone calling?" I'd ask, my voice catching in my throat, feeling foolish, feeling dependent. I want to check in. Just a quick chat." "They'll come knocking soon enough, sweetheart," he'd reply, running his fingers gently through my hair. But I could see it now, the manipulation disguised as love. As I sat in that courtroom, isolating memories poured over me like a crushing wave, and I felt a flicker of hope emerge. I pulled my phone from my bag and took a deep breath, scrolling through messages that never seemed to arrive. The room swam before me as I glanced at Sarah, a rush of realization striking as I recalled a time we had gotten together, before everything spiraled out of control. "Can you believe it? A baby shower just for you," she had exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I had hugged her tightly, blissfully unaware of the treachery that awaited me. Now, catching David's smirk in that courtroom, my stomach churned violently. Realization hit me, a gut-wrenching clarity. I was standing on the edge of a cliff once more, but this time I wasn't backing down. "Your Honor," I began, my voice steady as I felt the weight of every betrayal solidifying my resolve. My mind swirled with the shadows of what had transpired, visions of a betrayal cloaked in laughter, and those moments had begun to emerge like ghosts, guiding me to reclaim my narrative. Perhaps I could unearth the truth in this courtroom. Perhaps I could make them see the whole picture, the betrayal painted in the colors of my innocence. Image prompt. The courtroom is dimly lit, with nervous energy soaring as the protagonist. A woman in her early 30s with shoulder-length brown hair and expressive hazel eyes sits clutching the edge of a metal chair. She wears a modest navy dress, her fingers trembling as they grip the armrest. David, her husband, a tall man with slicked-back dark hair and an air of arrogance, sits nearby with a smirk on his face, while Sarah, her best friend, exudes a false charm in a fitted floral dress, her hair cascading down her shoulders. The atmosphere crackles with tension and disbelief. As the echoes of my determined voice faded in the courtroom, doubt loomed like a shadow. They wouldn't just see the truth. I had to lay it bare, irrefutable and raw. I was eager to unravel the secrets that chained me to this life of torment. But where to begin? The moment I stepped out onto the rain-soaked streets, my mind was racing. I could barely breathe. The betrayal cut deeper than any wound, leaving me feeling hollow yet desperate to unearth the truths buried beneath layers of deceit. I walked quickly, the cold droplets mingling with the warmth of my tears, blurring the edges of my vision. I needed answers, something tangible that would break the facade they had both so carefully crafted. David's insidious whispers played back in my mind, feeding the fire of determination that began to burn within me. That night, I settled into my small apartment, its walls steeped in memories that felt tainted now. The silence echoed back to me as I rummaged through the pile of mail, paper clippings, and scattered bills on the coffee table. My fingers grazed over the envelopes until one caught my eye, a crisp, white envelope with no return address. I held it up to the light, the paper smooth beneath my fingertips. Anxiety surged through my chest. There was something about it that felt dangerously significant. I tore it open, revealing a receipt from a nearby bakery, dated just a week ago, for personalized baby shower cupcakes. My heart dropped. Who were the cupcakes for? I breathed, grasping the receipt like it was a lifeline. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was meant for me. I imagined Sarah, buzzing with excitement over something that should have been ours, giggling with David over a cake decorated with pastel colors and baby animals, as if this betrayal was merely a party favor. Suddenly, I had a plan. I would follow David. I had to find out more. I picked up my phone, my fingers trembling as I texted an old friend, Natalie, who had been a lawyer, hoping she'd be willing to help. "Can you meet me?" I typed, pausing for a moment to swallow down the memories of our fun evenings filled with laughter and light. The minutes crawled by as I waited, pacing back and forth, biting my lip until my teeth nearly pierced through the skin. After what felt like a lifetime, my phone chimed. "On my way," Natalie replied. The rain drummed harder against the windows as the door swung open. Natalie entered, soaking wet but radiant, her wet hair curling dramatically around her face. We embraced tightly, and for a fleeting moment, I wished I could forget all of this. "Hey," she said softly, sensing my turmoil. "What's going on?" "David," I exhaled, feeling the fog of dread return. "I think he's lying about everything, about our child, about his intentions. And now, I found this." I handed her the receipt, my heart slamming against my ribcage as she glanced it over. "Cupcakes for a baby shower?" She raised an eyebrow, a look of disbelief in her eyes. "He's really playing you for a fool. I think he and Sarah are planning this together," I said, frustration bubbling in my chest. "I need to follow him. I need to know what's really going on." "Okay, let's do this," Natalie responded, her voice calm yet firm. "How do you plan to find him?" I motioned to my phone, my mind racing through 1,000 possibilities. "I'll trace his steps, monitor his calls. I'll confront him, but I need proof first. He already knows I'm on to him." "That's a smart move," she agreed. "But you should install a tracker app on your phone too, so you can follow his movements discreetly. Keep your distance. You don't want him catching on." I nodded, feeling empowered with each calculated step. I was ready to dive deeper into this sordid world of lies. I wanted to be the detective of my own story. "Let's meet up tomorrow," I said, resolve settling into my bones. "I'll gather what I can and share my findings. You can help me sift through them legally." As we wrapped things up, I started to feel the anticipation curving into something sharp, a desire for justice. I had fought so hard to reclaim my life. I wasn't about to back down now. With a newfound sense of purpose lighting my path, I spent the night laying down the groundwork. I noticed David's frequent trips to the garage, always at odd hours when he thought I wouldn't be paying attention. Did he stow away secrets there? That revelation led to obsession. I began to follow him, tracking his patterns and his trips. But every path I traversed, I felt like I was chasing shadows rather than truth. On one such evening, as I waited outside the garage, my heart thumping wildly, I saw shadows lurking within. The swelling anticipation of what I would uncover made every drop of rain more intense, every breath more vital. Image prompt. The protagonist is a woman in her early 30s, with disheveled shoulder-length brown hair and bright hazel eyes filled with determination. She stands outside her small apartment, drenched, clutching a crumpled receipt in one hand and her phone in the other, wrapped in a fitted gray coat that seems to blend with the gloomy atmosphere. The heavy rain falls all around her as she gazes toward an open garage a short distance away, where the outline of a man, David, can just be seen, his back turned, oblivious to her watchful gaze. I stood just outside the garage, my heart a wild drumbeat echoing through my chest. Clenching the receipt, I fought the urge to run inside and confront David right then and there. The cold rain mixed with the frustration and fear swirling in my gut, amplifying every doubt and second-guessing thought. What if I was wrong? What if this was yet another misinterpretation of reality as David had so often insisted? But the weight of that receipt compelled me onward. I crept closer, the rain drumming a relentless rhythm against the pavement. My breath quickened as I caught snippets of their conversation, barely audible but enough to slice through the air with a sharpness that left me reeling. David's voice rang out, smooth yet teasing. "You really think they'll fall for it? The surprise party and all?" A beat, and then Sarah's laughter pierced the dimness. "Of course. Who would suspect a thing? I mean, it's not like she'll find out anytime soon. After all, you're so good at playing the part." I shivered at the implication in her words, barely suppressing the tremor that raced through me. Oh, how could I have been so blind? But it was time to put an end to their game. Stepping into the garage, I charged forward, ready to confront the two of them. "David, we need to talk." He spun around, the surprise on his face quickly morphing into a wealthy smirk. "Honey, we were just—" I cut him off, shaking the receipt in my hand like a weapon against the tide of lies. "I know about the baby shower plans, David. I know she's not just your friend. I heard you both talking about it." The laughter between them dissipated, replaced by a heavy tension that settled like dense fog. Sarah stepped closer, her face twisted with faux concern. "What are you talking about? You're not making any sense." "Not making sense?" I spat, each word dripping with ferocity. "I found your receipt, Sarah, from the bakery. You think I'm insane or just stupid?" David's demeanor shifted as he took a step forward, his body language radiating charm and control. "Sweetheart, you're being a little overdramatic, don't you think? A receipt doesn't mean anything." "Exactly," Sarah chimed in, placing her hand on David's arm, a gesture both soothing and manipulative. "It's just a coincidence. You're just feeling overwhelmed with everything that's been happening. Maybe it's the stress of becoming a mother making you see things that aren't there." The words fell like stones, weighing heavy on my chest. I felt the world tilt slightly, caught in a whirlwind of disbelief and vulnerability. No, I couldn't let them gaslight me. "You think I'm crazy? You're both in on this, planning my baby shower for a child that's not even mine." David leaned in closer, his voice low, seductive, almost coaxing. "Look, maybe you should take a moment to breathe. It's understandable to feel this way." He paused, letting the implications soak in before he continued. "But you're not thinking straight. You know how emotional pregnancy can make someone." I shook my head, trying to fight against the noose of their manipulation tightening around me. You're doing this together. I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe you'd betray me like this. Do you want to end up looking foolish in front of everyone? He raised an eyebrow, the confidence radiating off him like poison. You know how your family can be. If you go around saying things like this, they'll think you're losing it. And isn't that what your friends will say too? Look at your history. Remember how they turned their backs on you before? I gasped, memories crashing over me like waves of a tempest. You've turned them against me. I know it. Calm down, please. Sarah stepped forward, her sweet tone now dripping with honeyed sarcasm. It really isn't good for the baby to see you like this. The words twisted in my mind, igniting the fear welling in my throat. My own best friend, who had been by my side through thick and thin, was now casting me as the villain in my own story. This isn't about the baby. This is about you two, I railed. But the intensity of their gazes made my resolve flicker. Doubt seeped in like sunlight breaking through clouds. Perhaps I was imagining it all. Maybe I was losing my grip on reality, just like they had been telling me. You're just overwhelmed by everything, you know, David said, his voice laced with soft assurance. We're in this together. Trust me. In that moment, I felt them both closing in on me. The walls felt like they were closing in, smothering the air from my lungs. I can't. I won't let you do this to me. My voice cracked, tearing through the shroud of silence that enveloped us. Do what, exactly? All we want is to throw you the most amazing baby shower, Sarah chirped, folding her arms like I was the one being irrational. The warmth of the garage felt suffocating now, making my head swim. Maybe you should get some help. Really, David said, as if some neon sign flashed behind him that said, You're crazy. You wouldn't want to end up lonely, right? Every word they spoke wrapped around me like chains, binding me to the uncertainty of what was real and what was fiction. I took a step back, the darkness creeping over me as I tried to comprehend the manipulation, the gaslighting, the betrayal. Get out, I whispered. The fight suddenly drained from my body. But as they moved toward the exit, Sarah called back, You'll see. You'll regret this moment, and we'll be waiting when you're ready to apologize. The words were like knives, carving into me as I stood there, feeling like I was unraveling. Alone. In the dark. Image prompt. The interior of a dimly lit garage, cluttered with boxes and faint shadows. The protagonist, a woman in her early 30s with shoulder-length brown hair and hazel eyes filled with defiance and despair, stands in the center, drenched from the rain, clutching a crumpled receipt. David, tall and imposing with slicked-back dark hair, towers over her with a smirk, while Sarah, wearing a fitted floral dress, leans against a shelf, a false smile painted on her face. The tension is palpable, as cold droplets of water roll off the protagonist's cheek, mirroring the emotional storm within her. The very air felt charged with loss as I stumbled back into the oppressive silence of my apartment, the walls constricting as if they too were complicit in David and Sarah's betrayal. The receipt was still clenched in my fist, the unsaid words echoing off the walls, reminding me of my isolation. Get out, was all I had managed to utter. It hung in the stillness like a funeral shroud, heavy and suffocating. The door closed behind them with a finality that reverberated through my spine. I felt cast adrift, untethered to everything I had once known, as if I had lost my mooring in the world. I was left with a nauseating cocktail of anger and sadness swirling inside me, poisoned by their sweet venom. It wasn't long before the darkness of night fell, cloaking everything in an inky blackness. I felt utterly alone, save for the dull thud of my heart echoing in the stillness, reverberating against the creeping anxiety in my chest. I raked my fingers through my hair, letting out a frustrated groan. I had fought so hard to carve out happiness for myself, and now it lay shattered around me. The reality of my situation crashed down like a storm. With no money in my bank account, the rent looming over me like a specter, I knew David would use this to his advantage. He had promised me the world only to hand me shackles instead. Each day spiraled further into a nightmare, warped by deceit. The damning weight of it gripped my throat, making it hard to breathe. Where do I go from here? I whispered to the empty room as tears streamed down my face. I desperately needed to make sense of everything that had just happened. My phone buzzed against the table, jolting me awake from my spiral of despair. It was a message from Natalie. "Hey, how'd it go?" Just seeing her name made my chest tighten. I felt a flicker of hope mixed with trepidation. I typed back, my fingers trembling. "Not good. I confronted David and Sarah. It didn't go well." Before I even sent it, a knock echoed through my small apartment. My heart stuttered, and I hurried to the door, hoping against hope that it was someone, I didn't care who, offering support. I flung the door open, and the sight of David standing there made my stomach lurch. "Can we talk?" he said. The mask of concern feigned so perfectly it made me cringe. "Why would I want to talk to you?" I shot back, my voice thick with defiance, though my resolve felt like a fragile thread. "Because you need to understand." Understand what? That you're a liar? That you've betrayed me with my best friend? My rage boiled over, fueled by the hurt and humiliation that coursed through my veins. "Look, I admit it seems bad right now, but—" I opened the door wider, preparing to slam it in his face. "Get out!" I screamed, my voice high and raw. "You've already gotten everything you wanted. I want nothing to do with you." He stepped forward, using his height to loom over me, his tone shifting to icy annoyance. "You're making a mistake. You're throwing away everything we built, all because of an exaggerated assumption." "Exaggerated? You think this is exaggerated?" I couldn't contain my anger, the heat rushing through me as I clenched my fists. "I found a receipt, David. I heard you admit it was your baby to Sarah." His face morphed, the earlier facade cracking, revealing a flash of annoyance interlaced with regret. "She's just trying to help. I told you it's not what it seems." "Really? Because it looks to me like you've already made your choice. You've chosen your secret life over the life we were supposed to share." As I stood my ground, the heat of the confrontation felt like a wave crashing against me. David's expression hardened, and I had never felt more vulnerable. "What's the point of us fighting? You need to be reasonable," he said, lowering his voice, attempting to play the concerned husband. "I can help you get through this. I don't want your help." "You're the problem." The edges of the world began to blur as my voice cracked under the weight of my emotions. The fury swelled in me, desperate to escape, yet I felt my resolve crumble beneath his malevolent gaze. "You'll pay for this," he hissed, placing a firm hand against the doorframe, effectively blocking my exit. "You'll lose everything. A home, a comfortable life. Think about it. Who would want to put up with this drama?" The words sent shockwaves of dread coursing through me. Thoughts spiraled out of control. "What do you mean?" He just looked at me, his silence speaking volumes. A cold realization washed over me as it settled in. He had turned my safety into a battleground. This was the man I had loved, now wielding threats like weapons. "I'll be back. I'd hate to see you homeless," he said calmly before striding away, the chill of his threat lingering like a noxious cloud. The door fell shut behind him, and I stood in the silence, feeling utterly dismantled. The tears came again, jagged and raw, crashing against the dam I had tried so hard to build. I could feel the weight of his last words like a physical blow. With a heavy heart, I sank to the floor, enveloped in darkness, an abyss of uncertainty, whose cold grips chased away any trace of warmth left within me. I had lost everything. My home, my trust, my worth. It flooded through me, reaching deep into the corners where hope used to reside. I grabbed my phone and sent Natalie another message, desperation bubbling within me. "I need your help, please." The stillness of the room pressed down, my heart racing as the fear took hold again. "They thought they had destroyed me. If you hate bullies, hit the like button," I whispered to myself, the sound of my own voice mingling with the rain outside, echoing a chant of resilience rising within. Image prompt. The protagonist, a woman in her early 30s with disheveled shoulder-length brown hair and tear-streaked hazel eyes, sits hunched against the wall of her dimly lit apartment. She wears a flowy pale sweater that looks too big on her, emphasizing her frail state. The sparse furnishings of the room appear empty and cold, accompanied by raindrops coating the window, while the door stands ajar in the background, hinting at the confrontation with David that just unfolded. As I sat on the chilly floor of my apartment, my mind raced with turmoil. Each breath felt heavier than the last, weighted by the betrayal and the looming specter of impending doom. I couldn't shake David's words from my head. Exhaling felt like exorcising shadows that clung to me. I had to find a way to reclaim my narrative. My phone chimed, jolting me from my spiraling thoughts. It was Natalie, her message lighting up the dark emptiness surrounding me. "I'm here," it read, and a flicker of hope ignited in my chest. Dropping my phone, I scrambled to my feet, wiping my tears away hastily as I swung open the door to reveal Natalie standing there, her expression a mix of concern and support. She wore a navy raincoat that seemed to carry the scent of fresh rain. "Hey," she said softly, stepping inside. "You look like you've been through hell." "Because I have," I murmured, closing the door behind her. "I confronted David tonight. It was a disaster." Natalie stepped further into the apartment, taking my hands in hers. "What happened?" "He treats me like I'm crazy, like I'm imagining everything. And Sarah, she's in on this. I heard them talking about a baby shower for his child." I felt the heat rise in my chest again, rushing forth like water breaking through a dam. He said it was his baby, and I don't even know if I can believe him or if I'm losing my grip on reality. Natalie's eyes widened, her grip tightening a fraction. "Those two are conniving, but we need to turn this around. I have an idea. Something I didn't mention earlier." "What is it?" My heart raced, eager for a plan, desperate for a lifeline in this stormy sea of despair. "I have connections with a private investigator, someone who can help us dig into David's dealings. If he's been hiding something, I am confident we'll find it." "Like what?" "Anything. Money issues, past connections, even criminal history. If he's deceiving you, there's a record somewhere." My heart hammered in my chest as I considered this new angle. What if there's more? What if Sarah's related to it somehow, helping him keep me in the dark? "Then we expose them," Natalie replied, determination radiating from her. "First, let's meet with the investigator after I set it up. Once we know precisely what we're dealing with, we can create a plan." I felt a spark of power igniting inside me, empowering me to reach deeper for the truth. "Okay, let's do this. But first, we need a distraction." "Distraction?" she echoed, eyebrows raised. "Yeah, something that'll get David and Sarah's attention elsewhere while we dig deeper. Could we stage a false lead?" Natalie nodded thoughtfully. "I can arrange a meet with someone who could play the part of a potential buyer for some of his art pieces. That'll get him busy dealing with that while we uncover his secrets." I paced back and forth, feeling my resolve solidify with each step. I can use this to my advantage. He'll be so fixated on the deal that we can work in the background without him suspecting anything. "Exactly." She smiled, and though I could sense the underlying weight of the situation, a flicker of adrenaline surged through me. Once we have proof, I can confront him with evidence. "I will stand my ground, Natalie, but I need to be tactful. No room for error." "Right. We'll take this one step at a time," she said, and her encouraging words ignited something bigger than I had realized. I felt empowered, ready to reclaim my narrative. "Let's meet the investigator tomorrow," I proposed, urgency gnawing at me. "Absolutely. I'll send you the details once I coordinate everything. Just try to keep calm and not let them know anything. Yet." "Agreed," I breathed, allowing the comfort of camaraderie to sink in. As Natalie left, leaving my apartment warmer, I took a moment to breathe and ground myself. Perhaps I hadn't completely lost control. Maybe this was the beginning of my ascent back to power. I opened my laptop and began gathering everything I could find on David. I was no longer just a passive victim. I was the detective in my own narrative. Hours crawled by as I processed paperwork and attempted to trace back David's recent transactions. Finally, something caught my attention. A series of sudden withdrawals from joint accounts, each one just shy of drawing suspicion. My heart raced. What could he be doing with that money? Eventually, I stumbled upon something intriguing, an address associated with the withdrawals, linked mysteriously to an art gallery I had never heard of. My pulse quickened as I jotted it down. This could be the vital clue I needed. As I settled into bed that night, the rain drizzled softly outside, the sounds lulling me into a fragile peace. I felt hope rising, fueled by anger, determination, and the promise of vengeance. Tomorrow would be the day I began to unravel the twisted web they'd spun. Image prompt. In a small, dimly lit apartment, the protagonist, a woman in her early 30s with disheveled brown hair and bright hazel eyes, stands resolutely in front of a cluttered desk littered with papers and a laptop glowing with data. She is dressed in a comfortable oversized sweater that hangs loosely on her frame. The walls are adorned with papers and reminders, while the soft sound of rain can be heard pattering against the window, signaling the brewing storm outside contrasted with the storm of determination building within her. The atmosphere is thick with anticipation and resilience. As the days slipped by like grains of sand, I felt a wave of calm traitorously filter through my system. I had to appear defeated as I plotted my strategic course of action. David and Sarah believed they had me cornered, and the reality of my situation felt suffocating. I had to play my part perfectly. One wrong move, and I risked everything. Natalie and I had concocted a plan to lure David and Sarah into a false sense of security. I would host a gathering in honor of my impending motherhood, an event they wouldn't dare miss. Inviting them to a public place would diminish their power. They would never suspect I was orchestrating my own quiet trap. The evening approached, the scent of fresh flowers mingling with the lingering fragrance of raspberry tart from the cafe I had chosen. It was bustling with laughter, the warm, golden light spilling down like syrup. I felt a mix of anxiety and exultation coursing through me. This was my chance, my moment to turn the tide. Arriving early, I made a grand show of setting up. I arranged pastel balloons and little baby-themed decorations that should have felt joyous, but instead rasped against the tightening noose of my reality. My heart raced as I put the finishing touches on the long table adorned with treats and sweets, and I poured myself a glass of sparkling cider, the fizzing bubbles mirroring the rush of adrenaline thrumming through me. Soon the door chimed. David and Sarah stepped in, their laughter ringing hollow in my ears. They couldn't see me standing on the edge of power, but I could feel it brewing inside me. "Wow, this is quite the spread," David remarked, sweeping his gaze over the table. There was a hint of surprise as he leaned in closer to Sarah, whispering something that made her giggle, and I almost choked on the sip of cider I had just taken. "Glad you could make it." I forced a smile, hiding every ounce of contempt bubbling beneath the surface. "I thought we could all use some joy, especially in these crazy times." "Oh, absolutely. Celebrating the little one is so important." Sarah feigned enthusiasm, but I noticed the tightness around her eyes as her gaze flitted over the party decorations. "Yeah," David chimed in, his smug look returning. "I can't believe it's almost time. You must be excited." "More than I can express," I replied, a calculated smile resting on my lips, while every breath was laced with the venom that coursed through my veins. In fact, I was hoping to catch up with you both, perhaps to celebrate a few revelations while we indulge in some brunch? "What do you mean?" David shot back, his tone becoming wary. "Oh, just the usual things that accompany motherhood, like responsibility and the truth." I leaned in, lowering my voice conspiratorially. "I heard you two chatting the other day." Their faces morphed, fear dancing in their eyes, but I couldn't help but relish the victory of those flickers. "Isn't that cute?" I continued, encouragement threading my voice. "Chatting about the baby shower plans, how exciting. Or better yet, how do you both feel about a—" I paused dramatically, savoring the tension I was crafting in the air. "A love triangle?" I finished, my heart thundering. The silence that followed was palpable, saturated with confusion. Venom turned into dread. David exchanged a worried glance with Sarah, and I knew I had them. "What are you talking about?" Sarah's voice was sharp, pretending to mask the terror creeping across her face. "You're being ridiculous." "Am I?" I countered, an icy calm settling over me. "You paint this happy picture for my friends and family, but you're merely hiding behind the facade, hoping no one discovers what's truly been going on. I'm not here to fight, I'm here for the truth. Look, we've done nothing wrong." David said defensively, his bravado slipping away. Really? Because those lies you've spun are unraveling right in front of you. I leaned back, relishing their small mounting panic. Want to know why? Because I've had a little help. In fact, I think it's time to introduce you all to someone. The atmosphere shifted as I motioned to Natalie, who stood watching from across the room. She stepped forward, her presence steady. "Hi, David. Sarah," she said, her voice smooth yet authoritative. "I'm a lawyer and I've been looking into your dealings, the financials, the lies, the agreements. What are you getting at?" David's bravado returned, but I saw the glint of worry sparking in his eyes. "You see, if you try to manipulate and intimidate people attempting to uncover the truth, it doesn't end well. You're lying to the wrong person." Natalie's tone was almost chilling. "I don't know what you're talking about," David began, but I cut him off with a forced chuckle. "Oh, but you do. We all know the truth now. I taped your little chats about the baby and the designer cupcakes. Just a clever ruse to hide the real story, huh? I'd love to play them back for everyone. I mean, come on. A party to throw me off guard? Classy." I leaned into David's indignant eyes as if carving a mark deeper into his perception. "What were you thinking? That I would be meek and grateful forever? Not anymore, darling. This isn't over. You'll regret this," Sarah hissed through clenched teeth as color drained from her face. "Regret is a strong word. Perhaps it's more accurate to say I'll embrace freedom," I shot back, my conviction sharpening every word. "I'm standing tall now, and there's a whole world waiting just outside these walls. And I'll make sure the truth sees the light of day, wherever it leads. Yes, especially in front of friends and family. The bigger the audience, the sweeter the redemption," Natalie added, her smile confident as she directed her gaze toward the gathering guests trickling in. I had to decide, forgive or destroy. The words slipped free, igniting a spark of defiance within me. "Tell me in the comments." I felt light, as if chains I hadn't known were tightened around me for far too long were finally breaking. I reveled in their shocked expressions, drinking in the momentary uncertainty, each part of me vibrating with empowerment. Image prompt. In a bright and bustling cafe, a woman in her early 30s with frizzy brown hair and bright hazel eyes stands confidently next to a long table decorated with pastel balloons and desserts. She's dressed in a flowing blue dress, exuding warmth despite the tension that crackles around her. Across the table, David, a tall man in a fitted navy suit with slicked-back dark hair, appears tense and defensive, while Sarah, in a patterned floral dress, stands rigid, eyes wide with fear and realization. The vibrant atmosphere is painted over with the shadows of betrayal, underscoring the dramatic confrontation unfolding. As the day of the gathering arrived, I could barely contain the whirlwind of emotions swirling within me. I had gathered my friends and family, all unsuspecting of the storm brewing beneath the laughter and conversation. The cafe was buzzing. The scent of freshly brewed coffee and baked goods filled the air, mingling with the sweet notes of pastel decorations dotting every corner. I positioned myself at the front, greeting my guests with a smile that felt both genuine and completely rehearsed. Butterflies danced in my stomach as the moment of revelation approached, and every smile exchanged felt like a countdown to an explosion. The atmosphere shifted as David and Sarah stepped through the doors, their expressions perfectly crafted to fit the family's expectations. At that moment, dressed in a flowing blue dress, I felt like an actor taking the stage. David held Sarah's hand, and just for a moment, I gnashed my teeth, forcing a calm exterior as they approached. "Wow, this place is fabulous," David exclaimed, glancing around. "You really went all out, huh?" "Always," I replied, enthusiasm suddenly swallowing any hint of tension lingering in my voice. "I thought we could all share a little joy today, especially with the celebration of your baby," Sarah piped in, her voice unchanged yet hollow under my stunned-edged scrutiny. Gritting my teeth, I gestured for everyone to gather around. "Exactly! Thank you both for coming," I began, my voice steady as I worked to harness the rising energy. "But I thought today might be interesting. Not just cake and punch, but a moment of truth. Everyone deserves to know what's really been going on. A ripple of confusion danced through the crowd, and the weight of the air thickened with unspoken tension. I watched as David exchanged nervous glances with Sarah. You two have been scheming in the shadows, plotting behind my back. And today is the day you face the truth, I announced, my heart racing as I drew my breath deep. What I've uncovered isn't just about cupcakes and baby showers. It's a betrayal woven into our very fabric. What are you talking about? David's bravado cracked, his voice rising defensively. Why don't I let you hear it for yourself? I stepped aside, revealing Natalie standing beside me, a beacon of strength. In her hands, she held my phone, ready to illuminate the darkness they had cast upon my life. Play it, I instructed. Let them hear how you both conspired to deceive me. The cafe fell silent, and as soon as the audio began playing, David's voice dripped with condescension. They'll never suspect a thing. I don't think anyone will see through our act. Sarah giggled, and then I heard my own name entwined in their schemes. Words stringing together under her breath, cloaked in conspiracy. Each syllable served as a dagger, cutting through the web of friendship and loyalty I thought I knew. As the recording wrapped up, gasps echoed through the room, shock rippling over my guests like a sudden chill. David's face paled, shifting between anger and disbelief. Lies. That's all it is. Lies, he stammered, trying to regain control of the situation. Lies? Is that your response? I shot back, relishing the looks of astonishment around us. The same faces that had once praised both of them now turned toward them in horror. You think you can hide the truth behind playful banter, David? Hide from the reality of your words, Sarah. This is your undoing. I didn't mean for any of this to happen, Sarah murmured feebly, though the betrayal clung to her voice. Didn't mean for it? But you planned every moment to deceive me. I gasped, my anger bubbling beneath the surface. You plotted and strategized right down to the very last detail. What do you want me to say? David's voice rose, desperation creeping in. That I've made mistakes? That this was a stupid idea? It's too late for apologies. Is it? I took a breath, savoring the moment. Because right now, everything you've built is collapsing around you. Every lie you've spun is out for the world to see. And now, time to reckon with your legacies. A wave of satisfaction cascaded over me as they shifted uncomfortably under the scrutiny of people who used to admire them. Everyone here deserves to know the truth, and now you can see precisely what you've cost me. I looked around, friends and family staring with bewilderment, anger rising as they began murmuring among themselves. Grace, my old college friend, stepped forward, her eyes like daggers. I can't believe you kept this from us. But there was no denying the truth in the room. Everywhere I turned, I found support. Faces long hidden in shadows lighting up with solidarity, understanding, and disdain for the deceit. Thank you, I whispered, feeling the swell of community at my back, empowering me deeper. You all deserve to know the truth. All of us do. From a distance, as the conversation swirled like leaves caught in an autumn breeze, I spotted David's face crimson with fury, a far cry from the confident man who had once commanded any room with sheer arrogance. Just know this, he spat back, voice laced with venom. You'll look foolish for believing this. It will all backfire. It won't. I'm reclaiming my story, and I will never allow you to drown me in your lies again. I stood tall, trembling with adrenaline, unleashing a cold elegance of empowerment I never knew flowed through me. One by one, people approached me, lending their voices against the tide of David and Sarah's deception, overturning every myth they had crafted. I was filled with strength, reclaiming my narrative with poise. The shadows fell away as I emerged, and suddenly I was once again the author of my own life. Image prompt. A bustling cafe filled with pastel decorations where the protagonist, a woman in her early 30s with loose brown curls and piercing hazel eyes, stands at the forefront, exuding confidence and strength. She wears a flowing blue dress that sways softly around her as she addresses the crowd. Behind her, David, tall and glaring in a fitted navy suit, looks furious, while Sarah, in a fitted floral dress, appears anxious and defensive, both under scrutiny from the astonished guests around. The room fills with palpable tension and intrigue, creating an atmosphere loaded with urgency and revelation. As the clamor of disbelief echoed in the cafe, leaving David and Sarah standing in the debris of their betrayal, I began to feel the cobwebs of my anxiety start to dissipate. The unmasking was far more liberating than I had anticipated. It was like walking out of a fog, each gasp of fresh air reinvigorating my spirit. Days turned into weeks, the public fallout from the gathering creating seismic shifts in our lives. I could feel the tremors rumbling beneath David and Sarah, tearing at the facade of control they had always reveled in. My phone never stopped buzzing, a flurry of supportive messages from friends and family affirming my decision to reclaim my truth. Words like brave and strong floated around, wrapping me in warmth, filling the void they had tried to create. Shifting into my new reality felt invigorating. Without David's influence, I was slowly rediscovering the woman I had been when I had first met him. In the mornings, I brewed my coffee, rich, fragrant, and brimming with potential, and spent time nurturing relationships that had once wilted in neglect. I called old friends, rekindled relationships with family members, and even reached out to people I had inadvertently alienated during my dark time. At night, I stood a little taller, reveled in the growth I felt blossoming within me. The darkness David had cast over my life was melting away, and the sun was starting to break through. Each step away from his shadow was a step into the light. My new life was blossoming like the flowers I had surrounded myself with. But while I was reclaiming my narrative, impending doom began to shroud David and Sarah's lives. As the legal fallout from their deceit unfolded, I learned the full extent of their actions. David's manipulations and Sarah's complicity led to an investigation that revealed fraudulent activity tied to several failed art deals. One morning, I opened my email to find articles that detailed their downfall. "Local businessman and accomplice charged with fraud," the headlines read. My heart raced as I scrolled through the details. David's charm had worn thin. Accusations of embezzlement and criminal misconduct hung around his neck like an anchor. "Did you see this?" Natalie called me that afternoon, her voice bubbling with excitement. "David's going down!" "Is it true?" I felt a mix of disbelief and satisfaction wash over me. The thrill of seeing justice served made my stomach flutter. "Absolutely. The authorities are involved, and I foresee prison time for them both. This isn't merely about money. It's about the repercussions of trying to gaslight you while pulling this deceit. The truth always finds a way to unravel lies. God, I never thought it would come to this." I breathed, leaning against my kitchen counter. I wanted to believe there was goodness somewhere in him. That's the thing. There's a difference between believing in goodness and turning a blind eye to evil disguised as charm. You survived a toxic storm, and now look at you. You can breathe freely again. In the coming weeks, I stayed updated as news of their downfall unfolded, each report etching their names deeper into the public narrative. Sarah's sudden departure from her cushy job left her without a safety net. Word on the street was she had moved in with her mother, the gossip thinly veiled with pity but thick with disdain. Meanwhile, David, once so poised in his arrogance, became the face of bankruptcy filings. He was exposed for his wrongdoings, the facade evaporating as quickly as morning mist under the sun. I couldn't deny the satisfaction bubbling within me as I watched their lives collapse like a house of cards, a fitting consequence for their betrayal. Yet, as I sat and reflected on it all, I found that nothing could overshadow the peace I felt living free of manipulation. I unraveled the fears that had once ghosted through my mind, and with each passing day I grew stronger, more confident in myself. Eventually, I set my sights on new horizons. I dived headfirst into my passions and dreams that had lain dormant for years. Inspired by the courage I'd fought to muster, I decided to work towards becoming an advocate for others who'd faced the same shadows in their lives. Every moment I drew closer to my goal tasted like the sweetest nectar. My mind was consumed with ways to help others reclaim ownership of their stories. I found strength in the stories others shared. The heartache turned into healing created something profound, a purpose. As my days got brighter, the blindfold that had shielded my heart slowly slipped away. The sun warmed my spirit, and my laughter began to fill the silences that once felt heavy with despair. The news of David and Sarah's fate echoed regularly in my life, a constant reminder of the struggle I'd overcome. They thought they had destroyed me, but I had risen with the flames of their lies turned into ashes. "Hey, how about we celebrate the launch of your project next week?" Natalie suggested one day as we strolled through the park, the golden hues of fall illuminating our path. "You have no idea how loved I feel," I said, beaming back at her. My heart was full, the future radiated with possibilities. "Let's do it." With that sense of euphoria glowing bright within me, I felt lighter than I had in years. "Subscribe for more karma," I whispered to myself, a playful smile creeping across my face at the humor spun from the chaos. And just like that, I renewed my path, weaving my way into a colorful tapestry of hope, new beginnings, and triumph over adversity. The next chapter awaited, and I was ready to embrace it, driving forward with laughter as my new anthem. Image prompt. A woman in her early 30s with long brown hair and sparkling hazel eyes stands in a sunlit park, exuding a radiant smile. She wears a flowing white dress adorned with floral patterns, embodying newfound strength. Around her, autumn leaves dance through the air, with friends gathered in celebration, laughter spilling from their lips. In the background, hints of vibrant colors provide a backdrop to her triumph, one rooted in empowerment and liberation, with the promise of a bright future ahead.